Hello and welcome to another Talking Tropes mini. I'm David.
And I'm Hannah.
Today we're looking at just doing a quick little recap of the latest Pixar venture, Luca, um, which has been getting some buzz, and mostly regarding the possibility, as tantalizing as it has always been, of is Disney going to have a canonically gay protagonist or a canonically gay relationship on screen. Because
Only in the Owl House.
yeah, I guess they've been more willing to venture into those things on television. The Disney Plus original series, High School Musical, the musical, the series has a queer protagonist in it. Um, but yeah, there's always been this underlying conservatism to Disney as a company because they're trying to appeal to the widest possible audience. And what that used to mean was appealing to conservatives in America, and now it means appealing to conservatives in Russia, the Ukraine, China, other various countries that have a fear of the queer, the homophobia.
Right. But I mean, also, they don't want to alienate the conservative Americans either. They want
No,
their
I know,
money
but I
just as
think
much
that
as anyone's.
I think that they've sort of in what I'm seeing in the way that they censor the films for other audiences outside of America,
Uh huh.
and then they specifically try to appeal to LGBT activist groups within America and
Hmm.
have gay days at the parks and other things like that. Have
Right.
pride related marketing. That sort of says to me that they're trying to sort of have it both ways.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely. They want everyone's money is the real
right.
answer. They just want everyone to bring their kids to Disney World and to spend their money as much as possible. See every movie, buy every bit of merchandise, the whole shebang. But enough cynicism. Let's talk about Luca. Let's talk about this film, David.
Right. Luca is a film about a friendship that blooms between two half man, half fish people in a an Italian port town
Mm-hmm.
called Porto Rosso,
Yep.
and they befriend a human girl
Mm-hmm.
and go on a race
Yep.
to win a Vespa.
They do because Vespa is freedom.
So like that would be a really boring, probably terrible movie if that was what it was about. But it's in fact about a young queer coming of age story and a budding romance between two adolescent boys.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what it is about Italy, but apparently it just makes everyone very gay.
Right.
Between this and Call Me by Your Name,
I thought it was supposed to
uh,
be gay Paris, not gay Italy.
it's gay
Uh,
Italy now. Yeah, I think this movie, uh, it hits all the right notes in a way that I feel like it's hard for me to find a movie that does these days.
Right. I think a lot of people have been saying that it relies on simplicity,
Mm-hmm.
whereas Pixar films have been getting increasingly complex.
Mm-hmm.
I think Soul may have even been like the peak of that. Just like
Uh-huh.
there's a lot of world building to be done in there's the before you're a human being, and then there's how the world of spirits and meditation work, and then there's after you die, where does your soul go,
Right.
and all of these things, and like what makes a person, and it all gets very heady and metaphysical. And then you
Yeah.
look at like Coco, also dealing with just these like heavy concepts of life and death, and then it's I think people are sort of refreshed by the fact that Pixar is sort of taking a page out of Studio Ghibli,
It
Hayao
feels
Miyazaki.
very, very Studio Ghibli, very
I'm
Miyazaki.
certainly not the first person to make that comparison, and
Yeah.
it's been listed in the director's sort of inspiration, and it's why they didn't go for hyper realistic textures on the water. They went
Mm-hmm.
for something a little more painterly, and it's
Mm-hmm.
why the mouths don't look as much like typical Pixar realistic mouths, and they look more like cartoony
Yeah.
Cal Art style mouths. If anyone was lamenting the overabundance of Cal Art style and animation on television, this might not be your favorite film because it definitely has that sort of big round bean shaped head, uh, and then big round bean shaped mouth, and then
Yeah.
skinny arms
Yeah.
aesthetic.
It certainly does. But I like the character design, you know.
Yeah,
It's certainly simple, but good silhouettes. You definitely are going to be able to recognize these characters out and
right.
about.
And I think part of that is the design constraint of you need to be able to recognize most of these characters with scales and blue fins, and then with Caucasian skin and hair,
Right. Looking like humans.
looking like Italians
Italians,
specifically.
yes, specifically. Um yeah. So I mean, just like story beat wise, I feel like this movie felt very satisfying in all of its beats, like you said, it's not particularly overcomplicated in either world building or like story structure. um and it was refreshing, like it felt satisfying, and it was like an hour and 25 minutes, like it's pretty short, especially for movies these days. And it was great. I didn't think it needed to
Right.
be a minute longer, a minute shorter. Like,
Right. I mean, with simplicity comes focus. With
yeah,
focus comes clarity. With clarity, comes character, plot, setting, all the things that matter. Yeah, like in the first 2 minutes, you know what the underwater world is like, and then you
right,
leave it, and then you kind of never really need to go back because you just
right.
know that it's like boring agrarian world, where Luca collects things like the Little Mermaid, you
But
know,
like,
very
I,
tropish, collecting the spoons and things from the surface.
but I love the idea that, the movie doesn't make it like The Little Mermaid where he has a whole secret grotto full of human things. It's just like he happens across it and is like, that's enough to spark his curiosity. And I think that's fine, you know?
Yeah, I
Like it
don't I
doesn't
don't
need to
see it
be a
as
grotto.
significantly different. Like I think it still falls into that trope of person who's obsessed with humany things, non-human person who's obsessed
I
with
guess.
benign, mundane objects.
Sure.
Um, and then he meets his
Alberto.
bestie Alberto. They were roommates. um, and they build a little Vespa together. It's like a symbol of their freedom. It's a
Yeah.
symbol of crossing boundaries,
I mean, the whole
boundaries that might be
movie.
like a restrictive heteronormative society of underwater folk.
Right, right. I mean, the whole movie really rests on sort of the chemistry and relationship between these two kids. And they do a fantastic job.
Yeah, I think
Like
so.
it's great. They have chemistry. I love the way they're written. It's definitely, again, simple. You have the sort of shyer, bookish, quote unquote good kid, and
Right.
kind of the rebellious, like confident but maybe falsely so,
Yeah.
wild child, and the
His
worlds
false
collide.
confidence, a coping mechanism for dealing with the fact that his family has left him, sort of
Yeah,
abandoned him, and said, "You're better off on your own." And so his only family is Luca, and so he
right.
feels a sort of controlling attachment. There's a
Mhm.
lot of complexity to their relationship,
For
in
sure.
like, yes, like Alberto is the one who introduces Luca to the surface, but Luca is the catalyst to bring him to the city,
Hmm.
and they're sort of inspiring each other to try
Right.
new things and challenge the status quo that they're presented with.
Right.
What do you think about like the lowest point in the movie, the big dramatic like breaking up of this pair? Do you think that that's earned, or do you think it could be better, or what?
Um, yeah, no, I think they plant the seeds well, honestly. Like when Juliana, the redheaded girl,
This is
uh
Julia.
is it Julia? Oh, you're right,
Yeah.
it is Julia. Um, sorry, let me take that again. So when Julia, the redheaded girl, is sort of introduced into the plot of the movie, defending them from the local town bully, who she also dislikes, um, who he's just a delightful asshole to hate.
Yeah.
The stuck up rich kid who wins the town race every year and whatnot. Um, even from jump, you know, uh, Luca is much more interested in the knowledge that she has to offer and the expertise that she has, while Alberto is kind of like, no, 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 who needs her? We can do this on our own. And that, even from the very first moments where, he's called away to help Julia's dad with some fishing nets. And so the two of them are left alone. And we see from jump, like, he feels weird about that. He feels uneasy. His only connection, his only friend is Luca, and he's terrified of losing that connection.
Right. But then the idea of hiding your identity and then purposely othering someone else in order to protect your own security in hiding your identity,
Yeah.
which, if we were to take the director at their word, that's more about, I guess, hiding your national origin, maybe, the fact that you're an outsider or perhaps your class or something.
Yeah.
But I think that the metaphor really doesn't work unless it's specifically hiding the fact that you are fundamentally different from the people around you. So
Right.
in a way that you can hide and that can be revealed as a secret. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that has to be queerness. So basically, Alberto outs himself, but Luca, shuns him for it and remains in the closet. So
Yeah.
what do you think
But
of the fallout
but
of
for
that?
not much longer.
Sure.
Though you're absolutely
Well,
right.
because Julia just figures it out, because again, like,
Yeah.
they're cutting through the sort of played out plot beats that would require extra filling out.
Right.
We don't have multiple like going up on the surface and then being punished by the parent scenes. It's just like one, and then he's like done.
Yeah.
And there's not like a bunch of different trials that they have to get through in order to ingratiate themselves to Julia. Julia's just like, okay, I like you, come stay with me.
Yeah.
Like, they're cutting through a lot of those plot messiness things.
Yeah. For sure. Um yeah, I like, it's obviously not like fun to watch. It's uncomfortable and sad,
Mm-hmm.
and like Alberto's like clear hurt and betrayal in the moment is like definitely painful. Um but I don't know, like, I didn't have a problem with it. Like, it made
No,
sense from a character level, I think.
no, I think
That
it. I
like
think it did.
that's how Luca would respond. Have you seen people criticizing that?
No, I just thought it
Okay.
was one of the most important plot beats, so I
For
thought we would
sure.
just get straight to that, and skip over.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to prompt you to hate it.
No, no, no. And like, that's fine. I was just generally interested if you had heard like dissenting opinions. Cause I could totally see someone not liking that moment, and
Thinking it's contrived,
feeling
or thinking that it's uh too sappy, or I don't know what would be the thing.
uh I think having a similar reaction to Alberto, where they're like, how
How could
could
you? Yeah,
Luca
why would he
like
do
do
this?
this to him?
But I think I can see somebody sort of going the other way and saying, Alberto, you're just being a dick.
Dramatic. Yeah.
you're trying to deprive this guy of an education just because you're afraid,
Yeah.
and then you're like kind of forcing him to give up what he's gained
Right.
by revealing yourself. So I think that that's what makes it work, is that
Right.
I can see different people being upset with the characters for different reasons.
Right. Because, Alberto is outing himself, but he's also trying to out Luca, which, it's not cool to
Right.
out people who aren't yourself.
Right. And he's
Um,
put in a difficult position, and he makes an
yeah,
instinctual but bad decision.
right.
Uh, and it's
And
rough
it's hard. It's rough. But I think also the way they go about
resolving it.
showing the mending of the relationship, I liked that as well. And I also like the sort of subtle relationship that Alberto and Julia's dad kind of build throughout
Sure, yeah.
throughout the movie. And
Yeah, you get the sense that everyone has complex inner lives, that we're
right.
focusing on Luca for now, but everyone really has a story, including this older bully who has some kind of like all of his self-worth is contained in this race that is for children, and now he's
Yeah.
like 20 and he's still doing it.
With his two
Yeah.
sad little whiskers.
Right. I thought
What an
one weak
epic.
thing was the two bully sidekicks who are,
Yeah.
they're like token characters. They're, abused, and then they reject the bad guy at the end to show the power of kindness. It's
Right.
it's a little too cliche. Whereas there's a lot of tropes in this film, but those two characters to me are just a little too cliche. The parents
Yeah.
also, I think, don't have like quite enough depth or complexity to them.
I would agree.
They're
But
just sort of fearful parents.
right. But they're also just not in the movie enough
Well,
for me to
they're in
like.
it a lot for
Well,
what role they serve in the actual plot, going around doing antics and splashing
yes.
water on people.
Yeah.
And it takes up screen time in a very short film. So I would have liked to see them flesh them out a little bit more. And even the performances, I think, Maya Rudolph is, passable, and Jim Gaffigan is less
Jim
passable.
Gaff. I don't know. He's just Jim Gaffigan.
Right. Well, I guess. But it doesn't compare to like Sacha Baron Cohen as their weird deep sea uncle who gives a memorable performance.
That's true. That's true. But I also don't think they're given, a lot to work with. Like I don't know how
Right, that's what I'm saying.
scripted it was versus non-scripted, but you know, I agree. They're just worried parents.
Yeah.
But sometimes that's all a story needs is some worried parents.
Right.
And for the parents to not be worried at the end and to let their kid go to school.
Right. I just wanted to mention a couple just little observations, things that aren't of much importance. The use of language is strange and inconsistent.
So strange.
It's sort of like they could have gone the route of, on one side of the water everyone speaks English, and on the other side everyone speaks Italian, but then for children who cannot read subtitles, you are alienating half your audience. They could have done something where like they would switch which languages they're speaking in different places.
Yeah.
But they went with, I guess, sort of like these two cultures share a root language, but certain phrases have evolved. They don't like say that, but I'm just saying like that probably was a discussion somewhere in the writer's room.
Right.
And I'd be interested to like hear them talk about how that negotiation went, on why they don't know the word idiota, but they know the word, Vespa. Well, I guess they learned Vespa, but they know all the other English words, or Italian words, I guess.
Yeah. They also do like very strange things with. I think they're kind of cute, but like, I don't know. Is this offensive? I know it was made by an Italian man, yes, but like,
yes.
Like just this little girl going around and saying "Santo mozzarella,"
Santa ricotta.
Like it's just like, is that not offensive?
Well, I don't know. I think it's just supposed to be like a quirk of this character.
I guess
because you can't have her say Santa Maria, because that's a little too religious.
That's too sacrilegious.
It's not sacrilegious at all. It's just it's too specific. You want this to be sort of secular and marketable to anybody.
But they have a bishop who's like
I've
running the
missed the
race.
bishop
He's the
character, I
guy in
think.
the black. Well, maybe not a bishop, but like clearly some clergy member, you know? And I don't know. This is the company that made freaking Hunchback of Notre Dame. Like,
Right.
it's not
Well,
like
we know
they.
how that went as far as marketability. So I'm just saying. Um, but yeah, I think that those kind of quirks are interesting. Silencio Bruno is an
Yeah.
interesting sort of coined phrase that I think people are going to
Yeah.
remember, especially kids who grow
Love.
up with those.
Love Silencio Bruno. That's very good. I was expecting Bruno to be like
Right.
his
His dad
dad
or
or
something.
something, but
Or
it's
his brother
literally,
who died of a
oh my
Vespa accident.
god.
But that would be very dark. So no.
uh yeah, no, it was nothing so dark.
No, it was
But I
just like
think,
Mr. Angry or Mr. Fearful, like
yeah,
would be too on the nose, so they went with Bruno.
yeah, he just made up Bruno. But yeah, it was delightful, and I cried at the end when Luca goes to school.
Yeah,
Cried.
I think it's a nice little film, and I think that the fact that it's, you know, two gay, very young people, like the idea of queerness as being more threatening when it's about children or marketed towards
Hmm.
children, which is why Disney has gotten away with more in their adult centric media than they have in children centric media. Very slightly more, but more. Um, so I guess I don't really have a conclusion on that point, but the
I mean,
the
the
fact
fact
that
that it
they're
is like very clearly these two, like like it's the sort of thing where very clearly they're two gay little boys, but like if you don't want to look for that, you could like get away with not seeing it, you
right,
know?
it's like
Like,
on the one hand it's a more dangerous thing if you were to portray it overtly, like if they, you know, kissed at the end or something, then you
right,
would really get a lot of like anger and vitriol from a very fearful right that is always talking about shielding the children
right,
from this type of content.
right,
But because of that, people are fearful of saying that it's, you know, demonstrably factually gay, and they
right.
can say, weasel it out and be like, sometimes kids are just like that, you know, they don't even know
Right,
what
like
gay is,
it's close male
they're
friendships. And it's
innocent.
like, guys, sure, it can be a close male friendship. That's fine. Love a close male friendship. Also, it's okay if they're gay though, too.
Yeah,
Like, it doesn't
and like all the
invalidate.
references to like these older women who are just quietly like, yeah, we're sea monsters on the surface and
Yeah.
we go back and forth all the time, like,
It's all the cool butch lesbians.
right, I mean, it's the fact that we all have a relative, even if we don't acknowledge it,
Mm,
who crosses boundaries,
yes,
transgresses
for sure.
for their time.
For sure.
And I think that's all I have to say. What do you have, Hannah?
Um, if I was 10 when I saw this, I would have cosplayed Julia every day of my life. That's the only other thing I have to say.
Oh, and it's weird that this is only on Disney Plus and has like a very limited theatrical release.
Yeah, that is very weird,
Because
but
it's going to
also,
be very popular and it will make the website more popular. But why is this okay to show only on streaming, but Raya is a theatrical release
I don't know.
and premiere access only?
I don't know. It's very strange. Strange Disney. Just saying.
Strange. All right. Well, see you guys next week where we'll have a longer episode for you guys. Less of a mini.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.